Welcome. It is our Iowa City Hospice Fall Memorial Service and Butterfly Release. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. It's a lovely day, lovely afternoon to release butterflies. They really like the hot weather, and they have been sleeping since Thursday, so they are hungry and ready to go. So hopefully we will see them with a little bit of action outside today. They tend to be a little bit unpredictable, right? And I think that can be true for us in our lives and in our grief process as well. So please enjoy the short service that we have here inside today, and then I'll prompt you to go ahead and go outside with us over to the arches, and we will go ahead and do our reading and release of those butterflies outside. We'll give everybody plenty of time to get settled, and then we will go ahead and come back in for just some refreshments and fellowship after that. Okay? Thank you so much. And next, I'm going to have Sarah Cavan, our clinical director, come up and start us with the reading.
All that we really know is that we stand here together, face to face with loss, universal, deep, and unending, that passes from time immemorial to this moment, on into the future, loss that brings us to a sudden comprehension of ourselves as transient shadows on the screen of life. We shall never fill the place which has now been vacated, at least not in the flesh. Against such a void, we can only exert courage and have faith in the knowledge that time does heal, and memories do soften the wounds of so great a loss. But in the spirit, yes, in the spirit, that place is not emptied. The force that animates this continuing immortality is love. It is because they loved us and we loved them that our dead remain an immortal presence. Indeed, we must believe that whatever we have known and loved is ours, that whatever we have loved becomes a part of us, interfused with our lives, blended with mind and memory, and joined to our souls. The dead are not dead if we have loved them truly. In our own lives, we give them immortality. In death, it may be said that you who have lived in the special affection of those remembered today have died a little, but in their lives you have also found a richer and more abundant living. Our hope for each of you gathered here today is that you will go on strong in the faith that despite death, life is somehow good, even though we will never fully understand its mystery or its way.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Miller, one of the music therapists. We'll be sharing a song. As we gather here to celebrate today, bathed in memories of those who've passed this way, we're reflections of our directions, those we've known and grown from on the way. Join us as we celebrate today. Listen to our hearts and they will say, as our love takes to the wind and flies, we celebrate these lives. We celebrate these lives. So with thoughts of you held safe within our hearts, like the morning sun when evening chill departs, we're forever bound together as the music like our future starts. Join us as we celebrate today. Listen to our hearts and they will say, as our love takes to the wind and flies.
My name is Kirk. I'm one of the chaplains with Iowa City Hospice. I'm thrilled to see everybody come out, especially those that I was able to serve personally. And my only regret is that I didn't get to serve you all. So I've been asked to bring some reflections on today. And this year's a little unique for me, which will unfold as we go along here. Can you guys hear okay? I need to talk loud, don't I? Okay. I'll keep it up. Spiritual distress is defined as a disruption in a person's belief or value system, which may occur when a person is unable to find sources of meaning, hope, love, comfort, strength, and connection in their life, or when conflict occurs between a person's belief and what is actually happening in their life. It can also be tied to an event in a person's past. Put another way, spiritual distress can and often does occur when life doesn't make sense. That thought's intriguing to me. Honest to God, I'd never thought of it until I sit down to prepare this. That very statement, life doesn't make sense, suggests that there is a way that it does make sense. And yet nobody lays that out for us. It's just not what we expected. Whether it comes from our family or our culture or our education, we each have a deep sense down inside of how it's supposed to be. For my wife, this included buying a cute little house with a white picket fence, a house from which we would never move, of course. And our kids would visit us regularly, and we'd celebrate together every significant date we could: birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, babies. In reality, in nearly 40 years together, we've lived in 12 different homes and had multiple temporary residences while we were waiting to get into our home. We've had a struggle to get our family all together, all in one place at one time. I'm sure many of you can identify with that. So we usually end up celebrating somewhat remotely or when we can. By the way, I did get my wife the little white picket fence, but little of the other has happened yet. I'm hopeful. How is your life supposed to be? How is it matched up with your reality? I dare say part of it probably wouldn't have been being at a service like this today. I dare say that I've yet to meet a person whose life has gone the way it was supposed to go. Anybody's life gone like they planned it? That's batting 1,000. This day became, this idea became extra personal to me in the last year as I lost my dad on Labor Day a year ago. So 53 weeks ago, something like that. Well, we knew that Dad's health wasn't great, as he'd battled numerous things over his 84 plus years, but like a tough old farmer, he'd always gotten better until he didn't. My son and I had gone to our annual Hawkeye football game that weekend, and after dropping my son off, I went to see Dad at the Gardens in Cedar Rapids, where he was going to get rehabbed before returning to his life. He'd had the game on, but he hadn't watched much of it. He told me a bowl of ice cream sounded really good, so I promptly went and got him one. I mean, we all say in hospice, boy, at this point in your life, eat whatever you want. I only stayed about 30 minutes or so because I could tell he was tired. So I leaned over, hugged him strong, told him I loved him, to which he replied, "Son," and that's significant because my dad would address me as son when he wanted to say something significant. He said, "I love you so very much." And that was the last time I ever saw Dad alive. Spiritual distress? You betcha. I had all the symptoms: questioning the meaning of life, suffering, all the whys, like why me, why them, why now, why here. You've all done that. Wrestling with my belief system: is God really and truly good? And is he good all the time? I was nearly overwhelmed with sorrow, emptiness, loss of direction. I'm guessing that many or most of you here can relate to that. Perhaps you've even wondered in your belief system if you've been abandoned. Does it still make sense? I get this, friends, more than ever in this last year. Here's a few things that I took away from my personal encounter with grief, and I will tell you, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. This is exactly what my dad would want me to be doing. And having it become so personal in the last year may very well be one of the best things that's ever happened to me to grow me as a person and to make me a better chaplain to people just like yourselves. So here's a few takeaways. You may have heard of they're nearly famous, the 5 stages of grief, okay? There certainly are stages to grief, but they are unpredictable, almost never sequential, and have no set time frame to them. I have bounced back and forth between these phases many times, and you likely have as well, and it's okay. It's okay. Should have had my card turned. You could have been Vanna for me. I also, kind of going along that same thought there, we're kind of led to believe, I'll fold this in half for a moment, led to believe that our stages of grief are rather linear, predictable, and come out in a nice chart or graph somewhere, when in reality, my experience has been like this. You know what I'm talking about? All over the place. Another thing I learned is that grief is very unique. Even if you have lost somebody too, you can't truly say, I know how you feel. We can feel for people. We can walk with them. But nobody really knows how another person feels, do they? Your journey will be unlike anyone else's, and it should be, because no one had that same unique relationship with the person you grieve for like you. I also realize that grief doesn't culminate in detachment. I used to think that was a healthy process. When you finally got free of it and you went back to life and stuff, don't buy it for a second. It doesn't culminate in detachment from the person you love, but creating a new relationship with them through memories that you share and frequent revisiting of the lessons and impacts that person had on your life. Death does end a life, but it does not end a relationship. And I really don't care what people think of me when I say I still talk to my dad in my car sometimes. Some say it's too painful to remember, but I say that the relationship is way too precious to forget. And I recall my dad daily. Next, while it might take a while, and you may not be there yet, and I'm not, because of what I said earlier, I'm not saying you should be there yet. You will discover purpose in this painful process. Not the least of which, I believe, is the ability to grieve with, to understand, to listen, to guide others better. That's what the loss of my dad has done for me. This next one can be really challenging for us. While grief is definitely an interior process, it is deeply social, including your broader community of your family, perhaps your church, organizations you're a part of, teams you're in. We need one another to navigate this difficult path. It can become very easy to isolate. I have these conversations with my mom. We need each other. This last one probably hit me about as strong as any. I got just a couple more here. What we often consider, and sometimes, let's be honest, is a catastrophic loss, does not mean the end of your purpose, even though it may feel like it. I've spent a lot of time with my mom in the last year. I go see her every day, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday after work. I stop by her house. Doesn't have to be long, just to see how she's doing. And she's just now realizing that her purpose isn't done. Because for nearly a year, she was sure it was done. Now what? Now what? Mom and Dad never dated anybody else. My dad was a sophomore in high school. My mom was an 8th grader. So they were together 68 years. She recently started attending a grief support group. For her personally, and I think they have their place, different ones for different people at different times, but this one in particular hasn't necessarily rocked her world like, boy, I never thought of that before. But there's another woman attending who only goes because my mom goes. And I said to my mom just the other day, I said, Mom, maybe this isn't about you. Maybe your reason for going is because she needs to be there. And she won't go without you. I think it's safe to say it was an aha moment for my mom. And I believe you'll have some of those too, where you realize this isn't just about me. I am a firm believer that as long as we have breath, we have purpose. Or as one recent song puts it, if I'm not dead, I'm not done. 2 more. We have a choice to either grieve what we've lost, which in some ways we will always do, or to celebrate what we have. Some of you that I've been privileged to sit with, we've talked about this before. One thing is for sure, if you spend your time looking in the rearview mirror of your life, you'll miss every single opportunity to enjoy what's going on right in front of you. Not to mention, you may crash. I challenge those I'm privileged to serve with this thought every time we're together. Don't miss what's right in front of you. And lastly, this one struck me especially. I came across this. Many people, and you're too far away to read this, so the red dot represents grief. I think we're led to believe sometimes that as time goes on, the grief gets smaller, when in reality, life, which is the large circle, gets bigger as we grow through it. The grief will always be there, but your ability to deal with it, to help others because of it, to find purpose in it, will grow as long as you have breath. There's a movie trilogy called The Lord of the Rings. Anybody familiar with it? Yeah, good trilogy. There's a powerful moment when Sam declares to his weary, beloved, lifelong friend, Frodo Baggins, and Frodo is spent. Sam says, Dear Frodo, dear friend, I cannot carry your burden, but I most certainly can carry you. There are people all around you who would say the same to you. Whether it's been a month, a year, or years, Iowa City Hospice says this to you. It is sacred ground to take this journey with you, and I pray that today you have been reminded of this again. And I added this at the end here, I couldn't help but remember, and I don't know how many of you look to the Bible for instruction and guidance. Jesus said, Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth and dies, it remains alone. But when it dies, it bears much fruit. And Paul went on to say, that which is sown is not what comes to life, unless it dies first. And that which you sow, you don't sow the body which is to be, but a bare grain, perhaps of wheat or of something else. The grain must die for growth to occur. I pray you know the truth of that in your lives today. Thanks so much for your attention.
Next, we're going to have the reading of the names. I want to mention that these are not in alphabetical order, so don't be expecting A's first. Don Longhurst, William Joy, Roland E. Martin, William A. Bulger, Jim Carter, L. Jean Mahana, Dale Baines, Nancy Baines, Patricia Manzo, Melvin Raymond Schemmel, Charlene M. Aspelmeyer, Frank Cummings, Joe Lepley, Joyce Lepley, Brad Westfall, Eldon Pribble, Wayne Balmer, Dwayne Joseph Krob, Roger Tim, Helen Ringenberg, Nichelle Thompson, Carol Martin, Mary Russell, Carol Walsh, Arlene Kennedy, Ronald Henderson, Robert Bob Nowicki, Susan Roderick, Raphael Bud Albertson, Bill Kearney, Donald Spevacek, Patricia Spevacek, Steve Larson, Tom Waljasper. I'm going to just take a moment here of silence to just remember anybody else that you might also have on your mind or in your heart, and to remember those that we've listed here today. Thank you all. We're going to go ahead and move outside next. So you're going to go out this side door, and you're going to go to your left, around the trees, and then to your right. There are some steps and seating outside near the arches, and feel free to stay at the top if you do not wish to navigate the steps. Okay? Once everyone is settled, we will have a reading and a release of the butterflies. We're going to go ahead and start with a reading, and then I'll do the release. So sometimes they kind of head out very quickly, other times they kind of stick around, and I have to do a little bit of coaxing. That's true for all of us, right? So no worries if that's how they are. Some of them, they all have different personalities. So if I need to, I'll coax them a little bit, but sometimes they'll stick around here in the trees a little bit too. So, what does this weather say? All right, I'm going to do a reading first. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Okay.
Oh, that's neat.
sometimes they just need to find the way. Or not be covered up. They like this a little bit cooler, and that with the sun back behind, they aren't in as big of a hurry. That with the sun behind the clouds. If any of you want to come up and I can place one on your finger, we can do that. If you're done having them on your finger, then you put your finger down on the ground and make me face the top off.
It little Maya, you gotta put your finger up. You gotta put your finger up so they can give you one. It's a great place because they like the trees and everything back here. They make their way into the trees. Oh my gosh, it's still with you.
Kara, if you put your left hand down, it's on your dress.
Oh,
Been there for a while.
Thank you.
Something about you.
Might be the material. There we go. Should we encourage him? Sometimes we just need some encouragement, right? There we go. You see a few in the trees. There's one right over here. Taking a rest. Thank you all for coming today. please join us inside for some refreshments and some fellowship, and feel free to hang out for a while. Thank you so much.
I will.